So my name's Charlotte Reilly, and myself and my husband Dave run Yorebridge House. Yorebridge House is in Bainbridge, in the heart of Wensleydale in the Yorkshire Dales. We bought the buildings back in 2006 and we renovated them from top to bottom into the 12-bedroom boutique hotel and restaurant that we are today. When we were told we had to close the business, I mean, the days running up, it was on people's minds that might be a possibility, but I don't think we ever really believed it would happen. But I recall vividly sat on my sofa at home listening to Boris say those words, "Close your doors tonight." And it was just the most strange, surreal moment. And it felt like a moment in history when he said those words. It was extremely emotional and all just very surreal. But we knew we just had to bounce into action. So as soon as he finished speaking, I put my shoes on, drove to the hotel and called a staff meeting. So it was very, very strange, very surreal and very shocking. It really was then a waiting game to know. We had no idea when we'd reopen. But Dave and I made the decision very early on that, we're not the type of people to just go home and sit and wait. It was, what can we do? What can we do to keep this positive? How can we almost take advantage of the situation? What can we do now that maybe we couldn't do before? So we have a team of around 25 staff at Yorebridge, and we are a really close team. We support each other. We work across all departments, so we are very close. And really, the most important thing for us was to reassure the staff. Certainly in the early days, there was so much speculation, and everybody was unsure about what was going to happen next. So we communicated with them daily at the beginning to let them know where our thoughts were at and what we were doing. I was so involved in keeping up to date with everything to do with the pandemic that some of the staff even said to me that they didn't even watch the news anymore because they got all the relevant information they needed from me, which was quite nice. One of the main things that we did early on was to think, well, we've got an empty hotel, we're open every day of the year normally, so, how can we use that time to our advantage? In the month of April, we used the opportunity to set up the hotel as if it was a wedding, as if it was a meeting, as if it was a wedding ceremony. We did a few scenarios and we had a company come in and film walkthroughs of the building, 3D imagery of the building. So to get the opportunity to set it up and film it was a great opportunity, and the weather was beautiful, so it was a great time to do it. And it was certainly now, so glad that we did it, because all the filming and the photography that we did in that time is how we've promoted ourselves to future customers, future brides and grooms during the lockdowns. They can't come for show rounds. So all of that work and that sort of financial and time investment we put in April is paid off. And we've had a few, weddings booked purely based on the work that we did in April with the filming. So during the lockdown, we were really aware that we had to start planning for how we would reopen and how the experience would be for the guests and for the staff. And so we decided really the best way to plan would be to consider the guest journey from start to finish and how we would adapt that guest journey, one, to be COVID secure, but two, to also still be as wonderful as ever. We had to meet those two expectations. So we literally sat down with a pen and paper and plotted the guest journey from start to finish, and be how it was before and how we could adapt it. That was probably one of the best things that we did, because we literally thought of every moment of the guests, from the telephone call to the departure, and we shared that guest journey with the staff. So that was really important and really, really productive, and it led to the offerings that finally came about. So when we were plotting the guest journey, obviously dining at Yorebridge House is one of the main attractions. So it was a real challenge for us to find how we could offer the same wonderful dining experience people recognise of Yorebridge, whilst being COVID secure, whilst making people safe, and keeping also the staff comfortable and making sure we're meeting all the regulations. So it was a real challenge. We're very lucky at Yorebridge, blessed with some wonderful outdoor space, and we know from the customers' feedback that they could envisage themselves here in the summer feeling secure on the lawns. So it was quite an easy decision for us to say, well, we can keep everybody safe, but also even offer even more wonderful experience by really making the most of our outside dining opportunities. So we invested in all new garden furniture, heaters, blankets, and a canopy. And again, it was scary to make an investment when you were closed, but we felt, this is what, we needed to do. It was really important for us, for when customers came back to us, that they felt safe and looked after. And one of the great things we did was the Good to Go Visit England accreditation. It really gave customers the confidence that we'd looked at every aspect of their stay to ensure that they were safe. And that recognition from Visit England that we were doing that was really important, not to ourselves, but really important to the customers. Even when we felt we had to take some things away because of the COVID regulations, we always try to introduce something back to make up for that. And then some of those procedures and new offerings that we've put in place, we're going to keep because they were so successful and we prefer them. Good example is breakfast. Breakfast buffets are no longer acceptable, and I'm not sure if they ever will be again. But we used to offer a breakfast buffet service, but we did breakfast table service. And it was so lovely. The guests loved it. They loved a glass of fresh orange with ice delivered to their table rather than having to go up to the buffet. And we just really thought that was a just lovely, civilised way to have your breakfast. So that will we'll maintain that. We'll also maintain the outside dining, and I think guests will like the fact in the future that there's more to enjoy at Yorebridge. We've really seen, due to the pandemic, the expectation of the visitor has changed, not only with us, but with their holidaying in this country. So we did see a dramatic change throughout. Potentially, maybe have cancelled lots of holidays in the UK and have put those together. So, being the sort of romantic hotel that we are, we've been generally would have 1 or 2 night stays with fine dining. Since we reopened after lockdown, we've had so many more multiple night stays, and I hope that will continue. But we've had to adapt to that too. So we've introduced a bar menu, we've introduced different lunch menus so that people, if they feel more comfortable just staying in one place and eating in one place, there's lots more for them to enjoy at Yorebridge. And so we've adapted to that, certainly, and I do think that will hopefully be something that we will be able to market for more in the future, and that people will have enjoyed their holidays so much in the Dales they'll come back for multiple night stays again in the future. During the pandemic, the biggest challenge, I really think, was the responsibility on our shoulders for everybody, for the safety of the customers, the safety of the staff, getting everything right in an unprecedented time with regulations nobody's ever had to deal with before. The best thing that's come out of the pandemic for us, I believe, is the way we've sort of fallen even more in love with the business. We have had time to reflect. We've had times here on our own, thinking of everything that we've done, everything we've achieved, but then also planning for the future again. When you're busy and open every day of the year, it's very easy just to get stuck into that routine. But I think we've sort of got excited for the future. That's been really enjoyable, and it's reminded us of why we're here and why we're so passionate about what we do. If I could offer other businesses advice on when we reopen in the future, it would be to create that solid business now, be prepared. If anything we've learned from COVID is that anything can happen. It's really important you have a solid business, have good cash reserves. The one thing that's got us through the pandemic is, without a doubt, positivity. Positivity kept us motivated throughout the lockdown. Positivity kept us proactive and improving the product. Positivity kept the staffing engaged and the staff confident in their future with us. And positivity kept the customers happy and excited about returning and trusting of having a wonderful but safe experience at Yorebridge.